trauma and the hollowing out. Imitation doesn't begin with boredom. It begins with trauma. When something breaks, that can't be fixed. When a rupture is too big, too fast, or too senseless, the human mind doesn't integrate it. It imitates around it. It loops. It reenacts. It pretends. And eventually, it forgets that it's pretending. This isn't a new idea. Cultures throughout history have reenacted myths, rebuilt monuments, and repeated rituals, sometimes to remember, but often to forget. Repetition is a form of sedation. Imitation, a kind of anesthesia. When the shock is too much to hold in awareness, we offload it into form. We preserve the gesture of presence, hoping that meaning will return through muscle memory. Trauma echoes when it can't be witnessed fully. It creates a hollow where presence used to be, and that hollow is fertile ground for imitation. Now, scale that up to an entire civilization. Think of the events we never really processed. September 11th, 2001, the televised apocalypse that rewrote global psychology. The 2008 crash, a betrayal of trust in systems meant to protect. 2016, a rupture in cultural consensus and the rise of unreality as strategy. 2020, global lockdown, invisible threat, collective isolation and disconnection. Each of these was not just an event, it was a disruption of coherence. The body of the world trembled, and we didn't know how to heal. So we didn't. We adapted. We normalized. We mimicked. We mimicked normal. We copied stability. We replayed the structure of reality without its substance. And when that performance persists long enough, the copy world becomes the only world we recognize. We reenact social rituals we no longer believe in. We consume images of connection while feeling utterly alone. We say things that sound like wisdom, but land like static. The trauma wasn't just the events. It was the absence of resolution. Unresolved trauma doesn't fade. It loops. It distorts perception. It suppresses creativity. It hollows out meaning. And in that hollow space, imitation thrives. We remake old stories because we're afraid to write new ones. We reuse aesthetics because we no longer trust the present. We recycle our own history because we're scared the future won't arrive. This isn't laziness. It's survival. Imitation is the camouflage of a culture that no longer feels safe being original. We perform the past to avoid facing what was lost. We cling to nostalgia because memory is safer than imagination. We loop old styles, old slogans, old strategies, not because they work, but because we don't trust anything else. When people say the world feels thinner, more performative, more like a parody of itself, they're naming the aftershock of unprocessed trauma. The copy world isn't a glitch, it's a scar. And like any scar, it protects a wound that never fully heals. But here's the thing, protection becomes limitation. The scar becomes the story. We stop asking if the injury is still there. We just adapt to the stiffness. Healing that scar isn't about fixing the world out there. It begins inward. It begins with recognizing how you, personally, may have gone hollow without even realizing it. How you scroll to avoid silence how you replay to avoid presence, how you might perform emotion instead of feel it, quote wisdom instead of sit in confusion. In the imitation world, emotion becomes content, outrage becomes dopamine, memory becomes media, and beneath all that noise, there's still a pulse. That pulse is your signal. It's the part of you that still aches when a certain song plays, the part that falls silent in front of a landscape, the part that knows in its bones that something is missing and isn't willing to numb out anymore. The way out isn't forward or backward. It's down into the body, into the feeling, into the truth we skipped over. Imitation protects us from feeling what the original once required. Vulnerability, uncertainty, presence. But imitation cannot heal. Only contact can do that. Only return, not return to the past, but return to the moment. So, the work is this. Stop reenacting. Start noticing. Stop curating. Start feeling. Stop pretending you don't remember what it was like to be real. We all remember. The child does. The artist does. The dreamer you buried still knows the way. This has been an excerpt from Imitation Theory by Sam Elliott. Read the full book and discover more stories that question the nature of reality at mybook.to/imitation theory.